Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Welcome back to Life's a Coach, guys. My name's Eric Clermont, and today we've got life coaches Avril and Sofia in the house. How's it going?
Hey there.
Hey there.
Good to
Doing
see you
good,
all
doing
again.
good, sir.
Love it, love it. So today, guys, we've got one for perhaps the life coaches or the aspiring life coaches. The topic of our discussion today is to coach or not to coach. So we're really going to be diving into topics such as, having the bandwidth and the energy to be able to coach. Perhaps if you've got a certification like we do, and you're not quite sure whether you're ready to step into it, maybe from the emotional standpoint or the work standpoint, right? But also we'll dive into some aspects such as imposter syndrome and having the feeling of needing to have all the answers for people as we kind of step into this role, right? Because as we think and feel, life coaching is a way of life. It's not just a job or a business that you run, right? So let's jump to Avril and Sofia. I guess to start with, have you experienced a feeling where, you have kind of, obviously you're both certified life coaches. Have you experienced throughout that career, a period of, not quite knowing whether you wanted to coach or not to coach, when you had that conundrum of, well, should I coach or should I not coach?
Sofia.
Haha, why? Come on.
Love it.
Of course.
All the time.
So, yeah, I'm surprised that this wasn't you, Eric. But answering your question, I think that I was never hesitant that I wanted to coach. This is one of my passions. I really see and enjoy the process of coaching and what it does for people. But when I finished the certification and then going back to what you were saying, Eric, on imposter syndrome, I was like, is this something that I'm good at? Do I do a good job? Will I be able to support people and guide them? This is the things that we want to do as coaches. And then there are days that you feel, yeah, today I'm not on a good place. So will I be able to support someone when I need to be present, fully listening, guiding them, and also having empathy for them when I'm not having it for myself, or even compassion for the place where I'm at? So I would say that these situations can occur, but they will never, in my head, were never like, I'm not a good coach, or I cannot be a good coach, or I don't love to coach. I'm sorry, this is what I want to go. I don't love to coach.
Absolutely. Avril?
Oh, I say no. I like what Sophia is saying. It's both, like the part I can relate to both actually. That there are times where, speaking, just going back to what you said, Sophia, about the days and the times when you're feeling like I can't, I don't know if I can coach somebody if I'm not in the zone or in the headspace to. I must say I've had those days before too. However, something I've found that, at least for me, that I've tried that have helped a bit is if unless I have two clients back to back, trying to schedule them in a way that I have the time to ground between the two, like coming out of one session and ground and just catch myself. or if not, making sure even if I got the one client that one day, making sure that I don't have too many errands before the session. You know, that also helps me, like, if I feel like, oh, I'm not in the headspace to get into this, but to give myself a chance to do some grounding practices that I have, whether it's meditation or listen to music or something that I know will just get me back. But yeah, I've had, to be honest, I've actually had a session where I was in the middle of coaching, and that day my mind was just all over the place. Like, I was struggling to just listen and just be attentive and be present. And best thing you can ever do in those situations is just to own it. I
Yeah.
had 2 or 3 moments of like, sorry, can you repeat that again? Or when I'm trying to reflect back what I've heard and I realized that I didn't get much, I'm like, okay.
It's so true.
I'm
It's
like,
That
so
oh my
happens.
gosh.
That happens.
So yeah, there are times when it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I think your question is right. Like, what do you do in those moments? And I think this topic was actually posed by Alma's not here today, but it was one of those things where she felt she had to, like, okay, I gotta reschedule with my client because right now today I'm just feeling very scattered. So that in itself too is amazing because you're honoring your client. You're showing respect to your client by saying, okay, today I cannot do this and give you my undivided, I cannot be in a space of giving you what you need. So let's reschedule to another time or another day I can. Um, yeah, so I can relate to that. And then there's the imposter syndrome part of it that you mentioned as well, Sophia. Totally, like, especially just after we graduated, and prior to that, it was just like exchanging coaches, trading coaches with other students, kind of thing, for practice. But when you start getting a paid client, you know, for me, there was a pressure of like, oh my God, I really need to make it worth their while. They really need to get something out of this. Like, I was not putting pressure on myself for them to have some kind of experience with the coaching because they're now paying. But and I think another thing that comes up too, uh, I've I don't know if you guys can relate with you too, but the fact that when, as a coach, and I think even just as a leader as well in other places, we feel the pressure to know everything about that topic, or to be at a certain place higher than the people we are coaching, kind of thing. Like, oh, so the imposter syndrome comes in the place of, at least for me, it's like, oh my God, what if this and what if this? I don't think, this person's giving me their time and effort and they're telling me their life story. Am I able to? It's like, I got the training. I can. However, I feel in those moments, it's just that imposter feeling that comes in, as if you can't, though we have the training. What about you, Eric?
Hmm.
Absolutely. You both of you bring up some really interesting points. I think with the imposter syndrome, I think that's a normal thing, right? When you're starting something new and you're trying to build experience within something, especially in something as personal as life coaching, because people are coming here to you for help, for guidance, for support, and to take them from a place that they were to a place that they want to go to, right? So there needs to be an element of results, right? So with that being said, yes, I think a lot of the time, especially when we're starting out, it can be very daunting, right? To kind of have that feeling in the back of your mind. And I think as life coaches as well, we want to be like very clear with the I don't want to call them client, I prefer to call them a partner, with the partner that we're with in that interaction, that a lot of the results perhaps that they're going to get are going to be internal, that can't really be um objectively put into like data, as to like, that's why they always say executive coaches make the most, because it's like a certain amount of capital that they can kind of return to the client, right? Versus other types of coaching, it's the things that perhaps you don't see for a year down the road in a relationship where you react in a certain way, right? Um, so I definitely think that as a coach, and this kind of adds to another question, because I feel as if, you know, the I guess I can't remember if you call it the Dunning-Kruger effect, but basically, the idea that the more you know, um, the the less you actually know, right? Because in actual fact, like the more you unravel the depth of, you know, knowledge there is out there, and for example, even just the healing journey, right? The internal healing journey and spirituality, right? If you unravel, things like meditation, then you realize that there's really no like it just continues, right? It just continues the level of understanding and knowledge and awareness that you can grasp, right? So with that being said, when you're starting to help other people in life coaching, it can be even more difficult because you feel more broken in many ways, right? You feel as if you have so much work to do yourself, and then now you're trying to help this other person work through their own um, aspects, right? But I think that it goes back to the idea that, every person is whole and complete and they have all the answers themselves. So to Avril's point, I think it's more just that ability to be open to and to reflect back and to be able to be present in the moment. I think that's one thing that life coaching teaches us.
Definitely.
I think even in the point I was making as well, I'm just realizing that I didn't quite express it the way I was trying to express it, is that sometimes, for example, being a life coach, because you're helping someone with their life situations or circumstances, sometimes there's this feeling or thought around it that my life has to be in order for me to be a life coach. Like I have to have all my stuff, my ducks in a row and stuff to be a life coach. Whereas it's not like that, It's
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
While both of you were speaking, I was thinking that both of you already went with some techniques that could support coaches to overcome either the imposter syndrome or that moment of the day that you were saying, Avril. But now you got to one that I think it's also important and relevant to clarify with the coaches that are listening to us. And we've been saying this for quite some episodes. Coaches also have coaches, and coaches also go through therapy, and coaches, it's part of self-development. So one of our, I would say, at least on my side, my goal on being a coach is also keep on working on my self-development, on healing, on everything. I would like to hear your point of views on this for those people, Avril, that think, as you were saying, I don't have it all figured out. How am I able to help another person?
There was uh, a lady who I did the certification with. She was in my practicum, right? And she was one powerful coach. Like we did some practices with her, even in a group setting and stuff. She was amazing, right? And she actually became a good friend of me after we left that. But she's a lady also who was going through therapy. She had a lot of stuff she was working through, right? And in that, when she told me she's going through therapy, to me, I was like, no way. But when she broke down the things she's going through, I was like, wow, it's amazing. But one thing I get to realize is that people who go through some tough things in life, at times when they alchemize that stuff, tend to be the most compassionate, empathic, and understanding people. All right. So the reason I brought her up is that, yeah, it's self-development, and the thing as well is like, because even as we grow as coaches and therapists and stuff, we get the wisdom or the knowledge, and how I show up is also like going to what you're saying, Sophia, the work that I'm doing on myself, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be therapy, but it could be self-development or something that you're doing, that you're putting in yourself. Is like, the more you better yourself, the better coach you're gonna be, right? So totally. it's I agree with that. But I just mentioned her because I was what she was gaining through this therapy is what she was also bringing to. So the more she's healing herself, the more she's bringing a safer, more healed space for the clients. So it's
Mhm.
I think it goes both way. I remember when I when I used to live in England, early 2000s, I dabbled in a bit of cognitive therapy myself, like training for that. And one of the first things they taught us was just every therapist needs to have their own therapy.
Mhm.
Like at least back then, the British board had that. If you're a therapist, you need to have your own therapist to see at least once every 2 weeks or something like that, because you also need
Mhm.
to process all that stuff out. And I know as coaches, we have this thing like you need to also have someone that you go to for coaching just to keep you in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. No, I love that. And again, I think it's that understanding, and this is more for the coaches out there, is like, I think you need to believe in the power of coaching as well. Like, you need to believe in the sanctity of coaching. You need to believe that it can, you know, bring change. Do you know what I mean? To people, and that change is possible. And you need to understand that process as well, and how fluid and how, because you can only feel that, you can't explain it, right? And it's different for everyone. So that process of, changing your habits or changing your behaviors, I think is really, really powerful. So definitely, that development, I think, 100%, like, there's a number of different ways to kind of improve. You can read, you can do work yourself, but having a partner within your spirituality journey and that development is really powerful. Like being able to talk through that and just have somebody, again, just hold space for you and ask, powerful questions to kind of help you figure things out, I think is really powerful. um I think something that kind of came up in within all of this is just the kind of the idea of, passion versus practicality, right? So for all of us, coaching is our passion. We have a podcast about coaching. We took Jay Shetty's life coaching certification, and it's something that means a lot to us, but it's not all of our full-time jobs or gigs right now, right? So for those coaches or even people who are interested in thinking of a change in career and thinking that they would like to do a life coaching certification, um, I guess what advice would you give them in the sense of, because I always thought when I did this life coaching certification, I was like, I'm gonna be a life coach. I'm just gonna like quit everything and I'm gonna just coach like 24 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? And you have these grand plans in your head, like,
You won't
it's a
sleep, right?
change. It's a change, but like what happened was even more beautiful. And I'll get into my kind of journey, like, as we go. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts as to, yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think it needs to be a be all and end all, or can coaching help in different ways? Meaning, can it still be your passion, and can you do that? And how can it help you, even if it's not your full time job? I know that's like 55 questions in one. So
So you will
I'll
start to
summarize. I'll
answer
summarize.
first.
I'll summarize.
No, you will answer first your questions.
Like, what advice would you give to any aspiring life coaches or, someone who wants to take a certification as to the, the steps and really the mentality that they need to have with this journey?
Um, for me, I would say, if you feel drawn to it, called to it, if it seems like something you wanna, even if it's something just you're interested to just find out what it's about, try it. Why? Because even before we even get to the impact and the lives you are gonna change or affect in a great positive way when you take it on, but even the changes that come for you when you start learning the when you start taking certifications for it, like I saw a huge change. Like some of the tools, like, oh my gosh, of how to. I feel like it actually transformed my life first before I was able to even use the skills for other people to help other people's lives. So just on that level first, I think you'd be surprised what comes out of it. And if you've got a heart to help people and you find fulfillment in you know helping someone, with something that was a challenge, it's not a challenge anymore, making someone's life better, then yeah, definitely go for it. As into like, go for it 100% and put everything and made it be a be all end all. I would say that could be an end goal if you want it to be the only gig you do. But unless you got loads of money on the side or something, most of us had to start like starting that practice whilst we're still doing our other jobs, and then start transitioning slowly into that. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
I'm going with what you said, Eric. So maybe explaining a little bit of our journey of my journey, because we also listen that our listeners like to understand more about us and be more authentic. I never thought of being a life coach. It wasn't something that I was thinking, although in my corporate job, I work in learning and development and it's my passion. But what made me go for this was a friend that forwarded me. So I already followed Jay Shetty. I already followed everything that he does and writes. But a friend forwarded me advertisement of the Jay Shetty certification course, where Jay used to ask questions like, do you have a passion to help people? Are you an empath? Things like that. Do you hold space for people? And she forwarded this to me and said, this is just you. And this was the tip to me, or maybe I should try this. So if you also exit, and this is now going to your question, Eric, maybe on the advice, for people that you trust around you, that really appreciate your success, that really appreciate you as a person, and that you can be doing something that you really enjoy doing, ask around what would they see you doing and being successful by it. Like, because some of us may have, as you said, Avril, ten, a will to help others, but there are really different paths to help others. And life coaching is one of this, like being a life coach is one of it. But as you said, Avril, there's so much that you discover for yourself while you're doing the certification. There's such a big journey that maybe this is for you being a life coach, and maybe you have other ways of helping others that it's not specifically coaching, because it's not an easy path. And being very honest, making this a full-time job, it's very, very bumpy, I would say. And Eric was mentioning, and we want to hear you also, Eric, but yeah, drop everything. We are going to be a life coaches. When did we ended our certifications? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, years ago.
So this is it. Eric.
No, exactly. I think you're absolutely right. Some of you will have that mentality of, yeah, I'm going to do this, and may even take steps. Right? There's a business program within Jay Shetty, and I'm sure some others, right? That kind of tells you the steps that you need to take to become a life coach. But I think that just like life coaching, when you are working with a coach and you want this one outcome to come out, and you're hell-bent on just that and only that, I think that tunnel vision can really stop us from seeing the beautiful view, because there's so many other outcomes. Like, I never could have known, like, the community that I could have built, the self trust and self-respect and discipline that I had within myself, the ability to just be a good friend and family member, to be able to listen and hold space. Even in my work, it's helped a lot with regards to how I talk to people and work with people. And I think one thing that it showed me was just that, like, similar to these conversations that we have, was that I wanted to create a community of people around me who were also passionate about self-development, about spirituality, about the internal journey, and to becoming the best versions of themselves. So um obviously, you do it to get a job, or to go and, you get a certification to go and, create something out of it. But for me, at a very kind of uncertain time in my life, where I was lacking direction, I was lacking vision, didn't really know what my life was going to look like. Um, I really just was looking for signs, right? Was looking for signs of things that resonated and things that made sense. So, um, and in many ways, it was a distraction, maybe as well, right? But for sure, I think kind of be like, just that openness, the openness. I think it taught me the openness of, you know doing a life certification doesn't equal become a life coach. Like, doing a life coaching certification means maybe you start a podcast, and you co-coach with friends, and you you now go and learn more about, what I mean, different modalities and things like that, so that maybe eventually you might kind of go down that coaching path. But I think coaching is a lifestyle. That's what I've learned. Coaching is a lifestyle. It's not just a job, and it needs to be a part of your life, if you choose it to be so. So completely completely resonates. I guess, have you guys felt, I guess, a sense of, um I don't know, like, I don't want to call it failure, but like, because I always, again, wanted to, like, start a business or something like that, but because you don't coach, perhaps, because I mean, it's not a cheap certification, let's be honest, right? So as well, like, do
Mhm.
you see I guess, the return on investment, or do you see, again, in the future, that there will be a return on investment in everything that you put in compared to everything that you take out? And again, it's not just a simple objective, like, data question of money or anything like that, but what's your thoughts?
For me, I think it's you hit the nail on the head when you spoke about how just doing the certification enhances your life in so many other ways,
Mhm.
even outside of the coaching itself. All right. For me, that's somewhere I can totally see, like, wow, this um how my life has improved, right? Relationships at work, outside of work, with family, and all that. It's just how I am showing up as a person, right? There's an extra oomph, an extra confidence I have, an extra even just knowing these skills that I got from the certification makes me walk in the world feeling like, okay, I got I got this kind of thing. Um, so I feel like either way, it's a win already, you know. And again, I also feel like even the journey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So even in the certification, we learned about doing goals, writing goals, and structure, and all that kind of stuff. So even though right here I haven't done as much, I haven't coached as much as I would like to have, but I still feel like having had the certification is totally has been a win for me. You know, that's
Yeah,
how I see
I
it.
would
Yeah.
agree.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Sophia?
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And there's the other thing that, at least I see in some of our colleagues, they are doing other things like group coaching, events,
Hmm.
um, becoming having other kinds of, I will call them jobs, but other kind of way that they are redirecting what they have learned during the certification. And here, Eric being very specific about the certification. And they are going through other paths. So not only the self-development, which I totally sign on what you said, Avril. For me, it was the most important thing so far. But there are other paths that you can go after having
definitely,
the certification.
Absolutely. Like retreats or again, like even just using coaching within your current role, like you said in your corporate role, right? I've done that within my role at work as well, for sure. I guess just to kind of continue on the conversation, I think given like I think it's always a great task to kind of reflect back on your journey, right? And who you were, and if I think of who I was at the start of this journey of even not even knowing really what coaching was, and the journey for me very much was an interesting one because I never knew about coaching until my cousin. I don't know if I told the story. My cousin, she was from Australia. She kind of reached out the year before COVID, and she was in the Dominican Republic, which is not far from me. She just reached out, and it was really strange. My aunt is actually writing a book about her right now. But yeah, basically, there was a strange energy all about it because within that last 6 months that she'd reached out, and it was, maybe a decade since I've really spoken to her. And I've only met her 2 or 3 times anyway, but she was a life coach and she wanted to see if I wanted coaching. So we did it, me and my brother did a few sessions with her. And I ended up recording a podcast. I used to have another podcast about like performance and development, things like that. And yeah, basically during COVID, she actually passed away, like kind of during that period where I hadn't spoken to her for a couple of weeks and I heard that she'd had complications. But I'd realized that that was why I had, she had come back into my life, like I really felt that it was that calling to change the trajectory that I was going on. And that was before my divorce, but it was very much at the period where I was really starting to seriously think about things and think about, the real big important life decisions that I was making. So I guess to my point, like if I look at who I was then to who I am now, it's just completely light years away. So I guess what advice would you give your younger self, before you were about to take the certification, about what to expect and how to best experience the joy of not just the certification, but the experience of becoming a life coach, right? Because you become, right? Yeah, like it's a way of life. So yeah, what advice would you give to your younger self? David's got something. I'm coming up with the zingers today, boy.
Yes, oh my God, you're making it this amazing today.
I know.
So you can start.
I could
Otherwise,
go.
would you?
What advice? I think I'll just keep it simple, I think I was very, like what we said before, I was very kind of worried about the outcome. Do you know what I mean? I was very, I already like made my website before I finished the certification. Like I was like kind of so focused on, oh, this is going to be my business. This is going to be what I do. It's going to change my life. And I just put too much pressure on all of it. And I just would have said, hey, just enjoy the experience more, like have more conversations, coach more, just do it more and like really just, relax and enjoy the process, for sure. That's it.
It's crazy. You talk about that your website. I've just had my own personal coaching website. It's there's a lady I met in November last year who's been working on it for me. She just sent me a first draft of it, and I looked at it, and it's amazing, right? But the reason is just my mind is like I certified, when was it? 2023 August, right? And I was trying to for a while I was trying to make the website myself on GoDaddy and all this kind of stuff. But here's the funny thing. In here, I felt like I'm trying to force something that I'm not supposed to be doing right now. All right. And I was forcing, then I'll do other things. And then there's something where I felt like, oh man, I'm still working on this project and this project, but I haven't done my own coaching website. I haven't done you know, I was giving myself pressure to get it done. But somewhat in my intuition, my heart, I felt like, no, it's not yet time to do that. Right. So long story short, like I met this lady at that other retreat I went to in November. She does an amazing website. Then things just came to place. Then she's the person who was meant to create the website for me. You get what I'm saying? So when I finally looked at it, I was like, wow, there's no way I could have made something this beautiful, this good, you know. But it just crossed my mind because I also felt the pressure to build my own website and all that kind of stuff around that time, because a lot of the people that we're working with too were doing that at that time. You know.
Mhm.
But I hear you. But to come back to your question, what was your question again?
What advice would you give
Uh-huh.
to
Your
your
yourself.
younger self when starting on this journey?
I'll say do it, Avril. Go for it. Again, for if anything, for the benefits of who you're gonna become through the process. The connections you're gonna make through the process, the friendships you're gonna make through the process. Yeah. The thing about coaching that I love is that we get to see our blind spots, right? If you're being coached, you get to see the blind spots, the things that are where you're self-sabotaging and you don't know why you're self-sabotaging, whether it's a mindset or a belief system you have. And when I did the training, and the thing is not just about what I was learning in class, right? But it's also, excuse me, when we're doing the coaching practices and you have someone coach you and you coach somebody, like I got a lot of help in that season with a lot of things that were going on in my life, you know. So I would say go for it. Go do it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'll
Sophia?
go with the sentence that you said, Eric. Coaching is a way of living, right? So I would not add much to that. I think you frame it perfectly because you learn a lot about yourself. You help others learn a lot about themselves too. And this is a never-ending journey. It's like, yes, we have a process. It's not like you're going to be coaching with us for 10 years,
Yeah.
but you will always start to discover more and more and more about yourself. And I think this is amazing, the process of discovering more about you and changing throughout your life.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Don't stop.
I mean,
And if I just add on as well, that sometimes you'd be surprised that what will come out of it. You know, you're talking about changing the trajectory of your life, right? When you're doing the certification itself, and we did the JCA certification. I can't speak for any other certifications out there, but you'd be surprised that you may go in it with one mindset, then halfway through you discover something else and it changes your life. You know, like someone may go in there, okay, I want to be a life coach because my niche is gonna be, you know, I don't know, helping empowering women or empowering whatever, right? Then halfway through, as you're doing it, you realize, oh wow, I can actually use some of the skills that I'm doing for something that's actually different than what I initially thought I was gonna do with it. And when you come out on the other side, your life has changed. Like you're already going in a different direction, which may be actually more fulfilling, you know, than what you thought initially you were gonna do. or more aligned with where you are going with your life than where you actually were, kind of thing, thought in before. Mm-hmm.
Completely agree. Yeah. I think, yeah, like that open-mindedness, I think, as you said, right, of just like, yeah, not being, I think, again, that's where the way of life of coaching is very much tied with kind of that, I guess you could call it Buddhist, but very just spiritual philosophy of um, non-attachment, right? Non-attachment to outcomes, non-attachment um, to you know um, anything really, objects or just even thought processes, right? Because I think we feel as if our beliefs and even our values can change over time as we evolve and progress.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to Avril's point, just being able to develop. So with that being said, just to close, again, it's going to be the hardest question of all. So wait for it. So obviously we've reflected a little bit. Now future cast to yourself in 5 years' time. I don't know
Oh
how
my
difficult that
God.
is for Avril, but just to have some fun, right? Remember, we know
Mhm.
that we're not tied to anything, but it's an interesting task. And you know, think about now the 5 year you in 5 years and who you are. Close your eyes, Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath and imagine yourself. Take another deep breath. Be in your body and feel it. Feel it in your bones. And see yourself now. Another deep breath into your nose. Out through your mouth. See how far you've come. Take a real look at who you are. What you look like. How you feel. Really feel that feeling in your body. Breathe again in through your nose. Out through your mouth. I just want you to think about what advice would 5 year you give you now. What are they saying to you? And how does that feel? Okay, come back to the room. Sophia, your eyes are open. What did you feel?
Keep going.
April? That's it. I had trust the process, so that's the same thing. Love it.
Awesome.
So that's one just for you guys to think about. You can obviously do a little bit longer. I didn't want to bore you with the visualization because it really takes some time to maybe really get into that vision, but perhaps asking your future self, right? I think it's a really interesting frame to look at it from. But I hope you've enjoyed our discussion today with Avril and Sophia. We've had a blast talking about to coach or not to coach. Let us know on social media what part you enjoyed the most and what you want us to talk about next time. Thanks so much, guys.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.